call this meeting to order. Everybody please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Here. Here.
Pat.
Here.
Lashewski. Here. Lentz.
Here.
Buckhauser.
Here.
Spears. Here. Teeling. Here.
Okay, do we have any amendments to tonight's agenda?
I'd like to remove number 3, EDC 2012-28 for brief discussion, and also number 7, City Council 2012-48 for brief discussion.
Any other? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We do have 3 presentations tonight. The first one is swearing in of Officer July242012CCmeeting, who is being promoted to sergeant. July242012CCmeeting, if you would come up, along with Scott Hanson and Chief First. Please raise your right hand. I, Andrew C. July242012CCmeeting,
I, Andrew C. Jones,
having been appointed to the office of sergeant
having been appointed to the office of sergeant
in the United States of Yorkville,
in the United States of York,
in the county of Kendall, aforesaid,
in the county of Kendall, Arizona,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of sergeant
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of sergeant
of the United City of Yorkville Police Department
of the United States of Yorkville Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. And we also have another certificate of recognition for another officer, Officer Goldsmith. If you would please come forward. Officer Goldsmith is getting recognition from the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists for being our top officer in enforcement of DUIs this year. Officer Goldsmith had 10 IRS this year. Okay. So I'd like to just read you a letter real quick from the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists. Dear Chief Hart, on behalf of the Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists, it is our great pleasure to acknowledge the exceptional DUI enforcement of Officer Ryan Goldsmith by awarding the Certificate of Appreciation and Recognition of these life-saving efforts. Every year, hundreds of people are killed and thousands severely injured as a result of alcohol and drug-related crashes in Illinois. It takes only seconds to become a victim without warning or choice. Impaired drivers make choices. They choose their weapons, vehicles, and alcohol or drugs. We at AIM, Alliance Against Intoxicated Motorists, pledge to continue our fight against impaired driving and to persist in our campaign of this 100% preventable crime. AIM conducts its annual DUI survey of over 700 Illinois police agencies with funding from the Illinois Department of Transportation, wherein we request your department's top DUI officers. In response, we ask that you pay tribute to this fine officer as one of AIM's top cops. With our congratulations and the presentation of the imposed award, you have our sincere appreciation and heartfelt thanks for exceptional public service. Thank you. Tonight's preparation scholarship. Do we have anything on that? Preparation Next is public hearings. We will go into public hearing for rec center purchase. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the city council on the purchase of the rec center? Please come up and state your name for the record and sign in, please. And I say keep your comments as brief as you can, and if you've already spoken on this topic, please give other people a chance.
Good evening. And my name is Robert Brennert, and I'm going to speak on the rec center. This issue's been around for a while now, and I know there's been a lot of discussion here, and certainly respect everybody's difference of opinion. I'm here to speak about why the rec center has value in our community. There are a lot of different things that governments do, and they support them in different ways. We support them with tax dollars, we support them with fees, we support them with being a conduit flow of cash where individuals can supply that type of service. In this case, the rec center seems to fall somewhere in between, in that there are tax fees that go towards the rec center, and most of it is supported by fees that the users are giving. In my observation of the center over the last several years, it has been well received by the community. Both those that live in Yorkville and those that don't. It supplies a great service to our senior citizens who may not have these health opportunities that we do have this type of center. And for those of you that have visited there, you'll find a lot of our children spending a great amount of time in positive activities in that center. Unfortunately, we do not have a lot of activity outside of schools in our community this time. There have been discussions about partnering with other agencies. One of them being the school, which granted their strictly requirements, not the school government. The other being with the YMCA. All of these are certainly interesting ideas. But in our environment, from what I have seen, to try to come up with only double the amount of money that this project presently would do, make it rather difficult in this environment. And even if we did, I'm sure there'd be some timeline and period involved in building another facility. Over time, the location of that center will probably exceed its value of what is presently being sold. We're graduate, real estate is not a high value. But over the next 5 to 7 years, the chances are good that that location will most likely have value. When those cities do not invest in real estate locally with their revenue, this is probably a very positive sign that it could be used very well. Having said all this, I would hope that we can come to some agreement on how to maintain the rec center in the community, because of its positive value to the neighbors and citizens, especially our seniors and young people. And I'd like to add just one more. Most people who can't or capable, who are members of that rec center, and I've brought this up to some of the are certainly willing to contribute more if on this discussion. We haven't heard anything about the discussion. It did not, and I'm calling it a discussion, it seems to me from what the shortfall is to what would be required to do this for a week would not require that large work. There are certainly those individuals, especially when you're seniors, who would be unable to contribute to that. But the majority probably would, and would be willing to do so to help keep some facilities in our community. At the very least, I would hope you would perform something conservative to find out if that's possible. I appreciate your kind attention, and I look forward to your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brenner.
My name is John Holden. I'm sorry for my appearance, but it's just cold, so I can come and speak. take a different view than Dr. here. Everybody that I know in my community, I've been raised in, finds this immoral, even discuss buying a facility. At this time, I have watched numerous of my neighbors with their small children crying, leaving their home in a time of such economic stress. I have seen my property tax bills skyrocket. I've seen my expenses skyrocket. And for this august body to think that they should buy what appears to me a white elephant at a time where instead of putting money into this rec center, we could be taking out about $720,000 in taxes from the center after next year. Whoever owns that property is going to have to pay it. So we could have a net income into our community of that tax dollars instead of spending for something that, yes, there are a lot of people who enjoy that rec center. But it's a business. Let it stand on its own as a business. If it can't, let it go. It's not this body, this community's business to support a single business. I do take what the doctor said to heart. Yes, sometimes government support things within our communities that help our community. This doesn't help a majority of the people here. And all I'd like to do is ask you physical constraint at a time when a lot of people are suffering. And not to go off. We don't know what it's going to be. Maybe the doctor's right. Maybe it won't be a lot better. Maybe we won't have a great deal to make up. But what happens if we do? How many projects in the last 4 years have somebody said, oh my goodness, we didn't know we wouldn't have the funds? Please take what I say into consideration. Be a physical conservative. Do not buy this rec center.
Thank you, sir. We probably don't need the applause. Sir.
Okay, now, the point is that you
Please state your name for the record.
Bill Składowski.
Okay, Bill. Thank you.
Jak się masz? Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, the problem is that we have a community that is growing and growing. Sure, this rec center will be not big enough, and I hope it will not be big enough because we can add on to it. And I look around at all these others, Oswego, West Chicago, you name it. I don't have to tell you. They all have pools, everything. Sure, they got into it earlier, but we can do it. You should be proud that you did what you did. I congratulate you for what you did. It took a lot of guts to have this rec center put in. And I can't see it going, put down, and then building again. We don't want to do that. We want to keep what you got. We're Polish. We don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Don't blow it. You got a good thing going, and keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Mays. I live in Yorkville for 50 years, and I've also been a member of the Club 47 Rec Center since 1995, 1996, whenever it was first established. There was supposed to be someone here from the Rec Center that had all the figures, and I'll try and convey what I have. As far as buying the property from Sue and Ron Walker, for $2.5 million as compared to $8 million, which was the estimate that I saw in the paper for a new building. I hope that you, Alderman, will have a good decision on how to finance this. But I am definitely in favor of keeping the rec center. I don't think $2.5 million is too much to offer. I would question the 6%. I hope that we can get that down to what is normal for the time being. The building, the parking lot, the swimming pool, the basketball courts, the weight room. There's four rooms for changing clothes, lockers. I've been to the YMCA twice, and I also have been a member of the Lions Club for 37 years. And I hope nobody's here from the YMCA, because the Lions Club had a very disastrous experience with the YMCA, and I certainly do not want to get involved with the YMCA again. If there's anybody here from the YMCA, I'm sorry to have to mention that, but I think it's necessary. I understand there's 1,400 members, and total people estimated to use the facilities is about 3,000 people. And I think that's a pretty good indication of how many residents will be using that facility. Also, as far as the $8 million is concerned, I've never seen anything come up with less than double. If the estimate is $8 million, it'll probably be $16 million by the time we finish the facility, the same as what is there right now. I made a few counts, and just in that one room, in the main room, there's 100 pieces of equipment that are probably estimated to be about $3,000 a piece. And that comes to about $300,000 for the equipment right there. And that doesn't include all of the equipment in the weight room. It doesn't include the equipment in the other two rooms, Studio 1 and Studio 2. And my numbers do not include the cost that people pay for membership, and also the kids that come on Saturday afternoon or in the evening to play basketball, and the ladies that come to dance. I don't see the person here tonight, Leon, but I talked to Tim and Scott Sleazer and several other people, and they have the numbers better than I do. I'm sorry that I don't have them. But I say again that you, councilmen and aldermen, have a tough decision to make. And I hope that you will be guided accordingly. And thank you very much.
My name's Diane Fan. I've been a resident for 5, maybe 6 years. I've lived in a few places. This is one of the most wonderful places I've lived in. The rec center, I have been participating in for my son has been doing it for almost 2 years. I myself have been doing it for 8 years because I was afraid to go there. Due to the fact that I thought it was more of a country club type thing. It was a health club kind of thing with all the beautiful people. Not that everybody's not beautiful, but So I was kind of afraid because I don't like that type of atmosphere. But when I did go in, I was treated well. The staff are very good with what they do. They're very friendly. They make me feel welcome. And they have so many different plans for your financial needs. I am slightly low income due to the fact my mother passed away a couple years ago. But they actually have something that pertains to me where I can actually go and work out, and I don't feel like I would in another club or like Gold's Gym. I would feel very unwelcome because of my body type, but because of the way they make me feel at the rec center, it makes me feel welcome. And I don't mind going and working out, even though I'm slightly large, but that's okay because that's what I'm doing there is to work out. We have a daycare center. If anyone wants to bring their children, they can bring their children. My children, unfortunately, are old, thank God. I don't need that service, but for the young mothers that do need it, it is there for them. It is more of a community center than it is any type of health club. I just wanted to let you guys know, considering I've lived in other places. I've been at the YMCA and never felt welcome. I was actually part of Curves, never felt welcome. There's a variety of places I have been that I have not felt welcome. And this is one of the only places that I actually felt welcome in a very, very long time, especially when I was thinner. I was thinner and younger, and I always felt welcome then. But when you have different body size, people treat you differently, and I would like to say the rec center never did. And they have courteous people, and very knowledgeable people. They know their machines, they know their workouts. You have one gentleman here who I worked out with him. And the pool is always, you can go in the pool. That's, as a matter of fact, I'm going there in about 10 minutes after I'm done. Because you can go to the pool any time. Most places, you have to have a certain time where you can go into the pool, whereas the rec center, you can go anytime from the time they're open until the time they're closed. There's no limitations, there's no nothing. You can go whenever. So I appreciate that. That's what I use the most is the pool. I enjoy it. And I would like to say just to keep the rec center the way it is. If you can improve it, that's fine. But I think it's well worth its weight in gold. Thank you.
Could I add something?
First of all, people who haven't spoken.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is again another class. I understand the compassion, and I am compassionate towards the people that need this or think they need this or want it. But this is again another classic case of what's mine is mine and what's yours is negotiable. The average family has to get up. They have a responsibility to go to work. They have a responsibility to pay their property taxes. They have a responsibility to take care of their family. And now they have a responsibility to keep this community center open. I've talked to you about before, a couple of weeks ago when we were at a tax rally, there are families hurting. $10,000 in property taxes. I don't know what happened, but we also had, in one of the meetings, there was a family or a couple of houses where there was a flooding issue. Whether that flooding issue ever got taken care of, I don't know. I understand how a lot of these things work. It starts out with an act of compassion, but then you start putting a burden on somebody else. A few weeks ago, there was commercials on TV, on the Spanish television stations. If you are poor, if you are elderly, or if you're Hispanic, you're entitled to food stamps. You don't have to be a poor Hispanic, you don't have to be an elderly Hispanic. It was targeted at poor, the elderly, and the Hispanics. I'm an Hispanic. I'm 100% Mexican with the exception that I was born here in the United States. However, the difference is
that as Mexican, I will not place a burden on the American people by asking them for taxes to take care of my food stamps. As an American, I will carry the burden with you during these hard economic times. This is one of the questions I would have is, what has this center done or tried to do? What efforts has it put forth over the years to try to save itself? The families have to be responsible for themselves. What is the rec center going to be responsible for itself in planning ahead for this kind of situation that we have now? The second question, is it an emergency? Do we really need the tax dollars? Is it worth raising taxes on a family who is hurting right now to save this rec center? So it is a question of morality. We just had there was an audit done to see who was the most transparent counties. King County amongst one of the most transparent. Cook County got a passing grade. Kendall County didn't even make it. It failed. We need to see where our tax dollars are being spent. We need to set priorities. Your Honor, I believe it's time that governments at each and every single level need to start cutting their budgets and leaving the family budgets alone. They also need to remember that government is our servant, not our master. Thank you very much.
State your name for the record, please, sir.
My name is Ladon Silas. I'm here to talk in favor of the rec center. I actually just recently started working there as a trainer, instructor. That's what I do. I do know a few of the people that are in this room that I've seen at the rec center. The elderly people that come in, they walk, they use the machinery, they use that pool. I'm not going to claim to know too much about Yorkville itself. I'm still a new resident around here. But I do know health and fitness, and I do know communities when they break down as far as giving their young people someplace to be able to go. Grew up as a kid living in the South Side Project, so I know what it means to not have a place to be able to go. I believe that if you guys decide to shut down this rec center, what you're going to end up with is a bigger problem than you thought. You're going to shut down a building, you save a few bucks, but you're going to increase certain types of things that you're going to need to combat other issues that you will have if you decide to shut down a place where a lot of your youth go, your boys, your girls. I'm not too much older than them, but I do understand what they're going through, and they need some place to be able to go, chill, hang, be themselves, trust adults. And that's what community centers are for. You guys want to call it a health club? Yeah, they have machinery, they have things that you can improve your health with, but in the long run, it's a community center. That's why you guys had it. So I think by, shutting it down, you're gonna make a bigger problem for yourselves than anything. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else on the rec center public hearing? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marty Green, and this is my first time here. I haven't been here in a while, so I know you probably have talked about things, but I wanted to get my point across. First of all, I love Yorkville. My grandfather was judge for 28 years here, so I was brought up knowing and having integrity. I went to the rec center because it's not for me to tell you that what I think if I haven't checked it out. So we went there, I looked at it. The roof, you can tell it's leaked. There's going to be expensive with that roof. The equipment is so rusty, it's unbelievable. Right away what came to my mind was liability. What's going to happen if something happens with this equipment? And that was a concern, how much liability is there? And of course the city pays that because the city pays the taxes and everything else. So first of all, I'm asking you, please, do not purchase the building. In summation, I will tell you, one, the building is old. As I said, the roof leaks, and you can see that. The equipment is rusty again. Government should not get involved with a business. Does anybody remember what Ronald Reagan said? Government is not the solution to our problem, it is the problem. That's Ronald Reagan. Yeah. Thank you. It's not profitable. Have any of you seen this chart that I printed out? Look at it. The deficit goes downhill. You don't have to be a master's in finance. The line goes down. Here it is. I'll be glad to show anybody. And it was on the website. The membership prices, they're not compatible with other membership prices. I belong to gyms. I belong to Delman Hospital, which has a pool, which has everything that they have. New equipment, nicer equipment. Instead of 2 showers, they have like 10 showers. So you have to look at the prices there. I think there's some wasteful expenditures when you look at the staff, and I realize some of them are part-time. But I went in there tonight, this afternoon, as I said, and I went back to the kids area, and I said, now what do you work? How many hours do you work? And the little lady said, well, I work sometimes in the morning, sometimes at night. And I said, okay. I said, what if nobody comes up? What if you don't have any kids? She said, then I go home. I said, but you came here, and then you go home if you don't have any kids to take care of? That's a great operation right there. Anyway, I'm just going to make a summation. Please, please, do not take this. There is so much money involved in this, and people are losing their houses. We happen to have 5 houses. We have 4 in Yorkville and 1 in Oswego, and I treasure our houses because we love Yorkville. Don't ruin it. Please, do not ruin it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Johnson?
Hi, I'm Mark Johnson, Yorkville. Actually, I had something else I was going to talk about, and I will, but probably don't have to tell you aldermen, because I think, and all the women, because you've been living this nightmare for the last, I don't know how many months, but I correct a few comments that were made. One being I think it was the doctor's comment that we need this for the events and the things that we're doing. We don't. Those events are going to go on, you know that as well as I do. They're going to find a place to have it. Most of them are soccer or things that are outside anyway. So we're really down talking about a building. We're not talking about the program, and we need to divide that. Also, I heard somebody say, well, we're going to spend $8 million versus 2.2. Again, that's wrong. This YMCA thing is a dream that somebody's got, they can keep it. But that's $4 million of an $8 million is what I think the facts are. And part of that, the city would be donating land. But I'm not for that, so I'm not going to address that any further other than those numbers are wrong. And I don't like to hear people throwing out numbers that don't add up. Another one was $2.2 million for this building. Baloney. This building is going to cost us minimum $4.5 million. Don't lie about thinking that all it is that upfront cost. It's $4.5 million we're going to be spending here, folks. And then repairs and everything is on top of that, and I'll guarantee you it's probably another $1 million. So let's just be honest about the numbers. If we're in, again, you guys know that, you've been studying this, just like most of us have. The newcomers or those that want to tilt it one way or the other have their say, that's fine. What I wanted to talk about was the building. And I did a lot of research. I've been trying to find the chink in the armor. I've been trying to find some way that we can just say it doesn't work and we need to get rid of it. But let me ask a question of the aldermen and the people here. Most of you know that I'm pushing for property tax reduction across the board for everybody. My taxes on my house, and I'm virtually right out the back door here, my taxes, or my assessment, was around $210,000 for my ranch house. I protested them. They gave me a bone. They said, okay, it's $198,000, $199,000. I currently have it down at the state, and I'm arguing. I just had it appraised, an official appraisal done. It's $180,000. Now, I think they're on the high side myself, but in today's market, I'll guarantee you, a neighbor down the street selling his for $150,000, and it hasn't sold in 6 months, and it doesn't look like anybody's buying it. So, talking about the value, my house is overvalued. The assessment is over what it should be. And I think you can all honestly look at yourselves and say, you know what? My house is, they're saying, is worth more than what it actually is worth today. May not be what you paid for it, that's a different story, but it's over what you can actually sell it for. That brings me to my point. We're talking $2.5 million, $4.5 million, whatever you want to say. Use the number you want. But I'm looking at the official Kendall County tax assessor's numbers. Everything is based on the third valuation. And they're saying the Department of Revenue value on this is $632,521. Do the math. Take that times 3. That comes out to $1.896 million. $1.9 billion they're saying this property is worth. And understand, all of our properties, the assessors saying they're worth more than what they really are. So that tells me this is worth less than $1.9 million today. Less than 1.9. And we're sitting here having a conversation about spending 2.5 or 4.5 on a piece of property that's worth 1.8. Now, the only thing that may be different that I haven't factored into this is maybe somebody's getting a good deal on their taxes. But I don't think it's the city of Yorkville, because they're the ones paying the bill. Maybe we should, as a taxpayer, we should be, applauding you for getting a better deal. But I don't think that property is worth what they're asking. And I think it's a waste of our money. Programs, I was on the original park board here. Believe me, I'm a parks guy. But we don't have the money for all of this extra stuff. We have it for the programs, we don't have it for the other. And we shouldn't spend it. So, I'm not going to change your minds. Most of you probably have your minds made up. But make sure you look at the value of the property before you sign on the dotted line. Make sure you understand what you're committing this city to pay for, to me, a piece of property that, oh, maybe someday it'll be worth millions, who knows. But right now, it's not. And you guys are wanting to spend all of this money? I don't think so. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that hasn't spoken on this issue that would like to address the council?
is Mike Green. My wife just spoke. I want to mention to her that it's the accumulated deficit is not going down. The accumulated deficit is going up in this graph. As I read it, it's about $500,000 from now through, or from 2009 to 2014. So, in addition to all this cost, we have a big accumulated deficit. I don't know, I don't have the figures, but I would bet that that is conservative. That the deficit is far higher than that. I see this as a buyout for the Walkers, and I don't know the Walkers. I wouldn't know if they walk into this room. But I see it as a buyout. I see it as a sweetheart deal for them. And I understand why they don't want to have a referendum, because it would not pass. So I think that we need to take that into consideration. I have a friend who lives in Batavia, and he was telling me that in Batavia they had a similar type situation whereby the city fathers wanted to tear down some buildings in the city and build a new city center. About $4 million, I believe still. That, fortunately for the city, for the voters and the taxpayers in Batavia, they had a referendum. It was so badly defeated, it has never been discussed again. And I'm sure if this went to a referendum here, it wouldn't stand a chance of passing. Because most people that you represent have common sense. Common sense would dictate this just is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else before we close the public hearing? Very briefly.
Just that, I don't know if you're aware that there's a Camp Hoover that has a full Olympic-sized swimming pool, and it is unused, and I don't know if Yorkville or the county or both owns it, but it's there, free, and it should be considered because what the doctor says and others have said, there are people who need the pool, who want these facilities. And if we have it free, it might be something we should investigate before we do anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing and go on to citizen comments. Is there anyone here who would like to address the council on any other issues other than that?
Hi, my name is Terry Hancock. I spoke at the COW meeting on July 10th. Glad I'm not talking about the rec center. But I'm also a citizen of Yorkville, and I was kind of compelled to come back and personally thank those that voted to research into the ban on the selling or owning of wild animals in the pet store, and also kind of express my disappointment to those who seem to put their own personal preferences over the safety and the well-being of the citizens of Yorkville and beyond. And maybe a lot of you guys don't know if you weren't at the meeting, but there is a pet store in town that's actually selling foxes and raccoons as pets. And my position is one of, well, we had a panel of experts here, basically. And in the animal field, whether they were naturalists or degrees in animal science, masters in humane education. And I basically just asked that you reconsider dropping it because it was such a kind of a contentious thing to say, just not look into it any further, but just literally to drop it. We are talking about the safety and the well-being of people, and my topic has nothing to do with spending, but it was kind of an argument that people will do the right thing and be responsible, and I'm sure the police chief would probably agree that's not something that most people do. It's kind of like saying people will wear seatbelts and people will pay overtime and lots of things like that. It's your job to modify existing ordinances and keep strengthening them as needed. And with people that were educated in the field, it was kind of sad to see that, you know, yes, sure they could have a fox or raccoon as a pet if they have a fur bearer's license. Well, a fur bearer's license is a license that allows people to trap and skin fur-bearing animals. And the loophole is that it allows possession of fur-bearing animals. The reason why I mentioned that you can't vaccinate wildlife is actually that it's illegal to vaccinate wildlife against rabies per the Illinois Animal Control Act 30.90F. We're not just coming up here just making idle talk. We actually have the law behind us. And it states that there's no recognized vaccine approved for use on wild animals, therefore wild animals shall not be vaccinated against rabies. When the pet store came up and said, yes, we can, the law states that you can't, and it's because any wild animal so vaccinated can't be recognized as an official vaccinate because it doesn't apply to them. It's like giving us a vaccine that's used on animals. It's totally different. So clearly, if the owners are misinformed about what the law is and what you can do, they're passing along this misinformation to their customers. And I think it was a little sad that there was a lot of personal stories like, I go there and I thought they were very educational. Well, the information that they're giving out is not true. And it's one thing to talk about, you know, gerbils or chinchillas or bearded dragons, but we're talking about foxes and we're talking about raccoons. And there's a lot of things that they really don't realize. And unfortunately, safety's already been compromised when a child went into their store and was scratched through the cage. According to the person who was making the comment both on Yelp and the Patch article, it actually broke the skin on his daughter's face and eyelid, missing her eye by a fraction of an inch. So if that was your child, how would you feel? So again, kind of saying people will be responsible and do the right thing. It's kind of sad that was said. Monkeypox would have never been introduced if it wasn't for people having prairie dogs as pets. I know that the head warden over at Kendall County Animal Control spoke, and we all had a lot of really good points that we wanted you to consider. And all I would say is we're not trying to shut down a business. They can sell, you know, again, no one's saying you can't sell a gerbil or a hamster or anything like that. But when it comes to wild animals that have no rescues to go to, no place to fit into the ecosystem, it's not right to teach our children to take something from the wild and keep it as a pet. And it is my job to do that. There's actually and not to belittle anyone, but this is an actual worksheet that I give out to my students that goes over what's wild and what's not. And there's a section that says even if they're gentle, they are tame, captive wild animals, but still not pets, even if a pet store sells them. And I think it's really important to reopen it when you get a chance, and all the experts that were here on that day will come back and help you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. North Aurora, for example, has a wonderful dangerous animals ordinance. It mentions fox. It mentions any skunk, raccoon, or rodent weighing more than 1 pound. It's all spelled out. So there's no deciding what do we pick on it, what do we not pick on it. The reason why people are coming from all over the country to buy their merchandise is because it's been banned in their cities and towns already. People have realized the danger behind it, and they've done the right thing. So I just ask that you do reconsider and put personal things aside and try and think of the whole benefit and safety of the community. And when you are ready to reopen it, I know that all the people that are involved in animal welfare will come back. It's not about making money for us. It's not about a business. It's about trying to protect the community and to make our city a safer place. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments tonight?
I have to sign this again. Mark Johnson, Yorkville. I'll make it pretty short. And I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to state this, but there's aldermen on this council that I think highly of, and I really have an appreciation for their conservative approaches and their fiscal restraints. But there's one person that probably never gets anything but bad press. And I guess I just want to say that for 5 or 6 years that I've been working with this individual, and I didn't know him until the landfill came up. But working night and day, and especially for the people of Yorkville, and I know that a lot of people don't like his votes and they have heartache over it, but he votes his principle. And that is something that every one of you should try to live up to. And I guess I just really want to say that person, I think most of you already know who it is George Gilson. And George, I just want to say thank you publicly for all of us.
Any other citizen comments tonight? Mr. Chair.
Good evening, I'm Linda Wichek, and I'm just here to give you an update on Push for the Path. We officially hit our $100,000 goal on July the 12th, which was 1 week later than we had hoped. But the good news is that we did hit the number. That was only 4.5 months after we started the campaign. And we do have 100 Power of One teams. And altogether, as of today, we have $107,000 that we have collected on behalf of the Kennedy Road multi-use path. So, and we're full steam ahead. The golf outing is going to be held on August the 11th at Blackberry Oaks in Bristol on Kennedy Road. And we're anticipating that to raise about $30,000 more. So we're actually hopeful that by year end, we'll have about $150,000 collected. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? If not, we will move on to consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. Roll call, please.
Caluso?
Aye.
Lushewski?
Aye.
Spears?
Aye.
Munns? Hoffhauser?
Aye.
Gilson?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Heck?
Aye. Next, we have minutes for approval. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council for June 26, 2012, as presented. So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions on minutes? I knew it wasn't going to get that.
You need to look over here. On page 1, just a point of clarification. We had 3 presentations that night, and while they're noted, I guess as it's just personal opinion, I think it would be nice if we put a little more information. You know, we have that Joe Moore got a certificate of appreciation, but I think it would be nice to know why. He served the city for 20-some years, I believe it was. So if we could just elaborate why they got their awards for future reference. And then I have one other thing. With me. We were talking about the OSLAT grants. I just like it clarified. I had supported the Riverfront Park grant, but you didn't note. I'd like it noted on the Evergreen Farms that I did not support that. You kind of intervened. That addressed my concerns, but those were my concerns. I did not support the Evergreen Farms. Yes, page 7 of, right, under the OSLAT. Thank you.
Any other comments or corrections? All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Mayor's report, we have 2 items, both collective bargaining agreements between the officers and the sergeants. I don't believe anyone on council has seen the sergeant's contract yet, correct?
Correct.
We need an executive session probably before we vote on this. We can break off into executive session now or just move these 2 items to the end? Move these to the end is easiest, right? So after executive session, we will come out and take action on these 2 contracts. We have no Public Works Committee report, no Economic Development Committee report. Oh, did it? Number 3, EDC. Okay, so I will entertain an ordinance extending the new residential construction incentive program by amending ordinance number 2012-03, the build program, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. Comments or questions on it?
I did. I pulled it up. I don't support the build program. I think that as a council, we need to focus and look at trying to come up with an idea that will give an incentive to an individual to buy a house that's currently built and vacant. I think that's where our focus should be. I appreciate new home constructions, and I appreciate the new homes coming in, and that is a positive benefit for the city. But I think our focus is misdirected at new construction when we should be focusing on filling the vacant homes that are already there, because they will only start to deteriorate, look bad, decrease property values. So that's why I'm against the build program. I know it's going to pass, but I pulled it off because I wanted to vote against it. I didn't want to.
I think we can do both somehow. We've talked about this with staff to find a way to incentivize these empty houses. They're not come up with a good idea. I think we should find a way to do both. So we're open to suggestions. Any other comments or questions on the build program? Yes, sir.
So about mine, the staff's notes, $200,000 increase in revenue in 6 months with the bill. So I'm all for his bill program, but I agree with all of the person Carlo that we've got to make the program for the vacant houses.
Yeah, they're a little more difficult.
I have not been a proponent of the bill program. And the reason I haven't been a proponent of the bill program is because I haven't, and I asked this the last council meeting, I haven't seen any empirical evidence that shows that the market and demographics isn't what is adding permits. I don't see the build program in anything that we've done in terms of evidence directly relating to that. And I'm going to read an email, and Marty, if you're opposed, tell me now, but I'm going to read an email, state the name, obviously, but that's related to this bill program. She wasn't able to make it tonight and asked me to read it. Sure. Name is Lisa Peterson. Here's what she says regarding the bill program. Strongly oppose it. Purpose is to stimulate the economy by offering incentives to new home buyers. I had originally misspoke because I thought that this build program was for 50 homes at $5,000 a home or $250,000. I realize now that the first incentive offered was for 30 homes at $5,000 a home or $150,000. I disagree with the statement that no taxpayer monies are being used to fund this program. Currently, the city is facing a bond repayment debt of over $900,000, almost $1 million, on the 2013 city budget for the Rob Roy Sewer Project, which the City Council has known about for almost 4 years now, and yet has made absolutely no provisions in the budget of how to pay for it. The monies or revenues that the city is supposed to be collecting for new water and sewer tap-on fees from developers for new construction is supposed to be going to pay off this bond debt, which the city has now decided to waive for the sake of stimulating the economy. So now, who is paying the almost $1 million worth of bond debt for the next year? The taxpayers, that's who. Because now the city has no money to repay their bond debt because they are deliberately choosing to waive these fees and not collect them to repay their bond debt for this bill program. So, since the city has no money to repay their debt, the City Council just voted at the June 26, 2012 meeting to pass that debt onto the taxpayers in the form of an additional $8.25 fee onto our existing water and sewer bill. The city receives the additional property tax revenue for 30 new homes, soon to be 60. The builders receive the income and revenue for building an additional 30 to 60 homes. And what do the taxpayers receive? Nothing, except higher water and sewer bills, and property taxes to boot. In 2010, the city voted to abate these bond debts onto the taxpayers, raising the city portion of our property taxes from .43735 to .90196, an increase of 106%. In 2011, the city lowered the residents' portion of our property tax bill from .90196 to .07449. due to the fact that they put a referendum on the ballot to increase our sales tax 1%, which I was opposed to and did not vote for. The City Council likes to brag that they actually lowered the city portion of the property taxes by 30% this last year, but in reality, the city has raised our property taxes by over 61% in the last 2 years because of the Rob Roy Sewer bond debt. The city has raised my city sales tax by 1%, and most recently, the city has raised my water and sewer bill by $8.25. So please, Do not sit there and insult my intelligence by telling me that I'm not paying for this build program, because I am. I am paying with higher sales taxes, higher property taxes, and a higher water and sewer bill. I asked at the 512 city admin meeting when the city would start taking the property tax revenues being collected from these new construction homes and apply them to the Rob Roy sewer bond, and I was told the city cannot do that until they receive 200 building permits in a single year. That could take 10 years or more for the city to reach that goal. So the builders are making money with increased sales, the city is making money with property taxes from new homes, and I am being forced to pay for it all with higher property taxes, higher sales tax, and higher water and sewer bills. No, this build program is not a good thing. And like I said, I was asked to read that, and I promised I would. So I once again oppose this build program, and I agree with a lot of those same sentiments. And it's not just a feeling. Like I said, I've given staff opportunity to tell me exactly, give me the empirical evidence that directly links this build program to added permits this year, other than market and conditions. And I just haven't seen that. So I once again oppose this program.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Teely,
Aye.
Gilson,
Nay.
Hot,
Aye.
Buns, Spears,
Nay.
Pelosi,
Nay.
Houghouser,
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Okay, next on the agenda is Public Safety Committee report. Lightning detectors for city parks. The staff has asked that we table this until they get a response from the school district regarding funding for these. Unless anyone wants to discuss this, I'll entertain a motion to table this item to the August 14th, 2012 committee of the whole meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Teely,
Aye.
Aye. Gilson,
Aye.
Hot,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Pelosi,
Aye.
Houghouser,
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Moving on to Administration Committee report. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving a contract for garbage, refuse, recycling, and yard waste collection services with Veolia ES Solid Waste Midwest LLC, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the garbage contract? Yes, sir.
I just want to point out that I'm very happy with the new contract. It provides the same high quality that we've been used to with Viola. I get one compliment from my residents. It's that they love their garbage service. I know we have our representative here. Believe it or not, people are very happy with the service we're receiving for our garbage, and I have to agree. They're efficient, they're willing to work with us in the event of a storm or an extra pickup. They're very flexible, their rates are reasonable. I'm very happy with Viola, and not only do we have the contract laid out so it would be the same great service we have been receiving, but it actually is at a slight reduction. Our previous contract, I believe, $4 a household per month, approximately. So I just want to thank Viola for working with us, and I'm happy to vote for it.
And aside from a reduction in cost, we also have some more options as far as container size. You can go with a larger container or a smaller container. Any other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Just on the contract, on the first page of it, under the last now therefore, they have us referred to as a village. And I want to echo what Alderman Police Hall said. Their service is phenomenal. I don't think we get them any complaints. They're efficient, they're clean, and I think they're very accommodating to everybody. So I'm glad that we're renewing with them.
You said on page 1?
Of the contract itself, not the, kind of in the middle of the page, toward the right side. Under number 1, contractor agrees to furnish all materials. First was the village.
Ms. Orr says
Aye.
Cott.
Aye.
Munns.
Aye.
Spears.
Aye.
Pelosino.
Aye.
Buckhauser.
Aye.
Wilczewski.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is Park Board, and the Park Board did forward some recommendations on the rec center and referendum questions. Laura, Bert, do you want to bring us up now, or want we talk about referendums, or?
It's probably most appropriate to talk about it under the referendums. So it's included within both agenda items.
Okay. So if there's any objections, we'll bring it up under the referendum. Next is Plan Commission. I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance approving amendments to the Yorkville zoning ordinance providing for indoor shooting ranges and special uses and for the manufacturing of firearms and ammunition as permitted use, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
I believe this was approved unanimously at Plan Commission. Is there anything you want to add, Christie, or are there any questions? George?
I have a concern with this, and I'll tell you the concern. If you look at under item number 3, if you look at the memorandum, it talks about the Planning Commission action, and numeral number 3, the standard says require a minimum building setback of 50 feet from any property line for indoor shooting gallery, gun range facilities which abuts a residentially zoned property. 50 feet is very close, ladies and gentlemen, and I have an issue with the saying that 50 feet for a gun range is okay from a residential property that may abut this. I know it says minimum, but still, when you leave that open, that means you're looking at a setback of 50 feet. Yeah, it's very close. It's very close.
Just to dig into that, we had a discussion at the Planning Commission. 50 feet is from the building on the M zone property to its property line. If you have an adjacent residential property, they too have their own setbacks for their houses, and then you have an additional 30 to 40 feet depending on the zone district. So you're looking at about 90 to 100 feet distance. Also, the requirements, the standards that are in place for these types of facilities, and the batting that's required, the insulation and the non-penetration of the walls, and the inspection requirements, that distance is actually greater than what most distances are for these types of facilities.
And I'm not concerned about safety. I'm familiar with gun ranges, and I understand that very well. But some people's homes and structures are not that far set back on their property. I mean, the setbacks are pretty close to their property lines and their setbacks. I still think by putting 50 feet in there, you leave a pretty small window of distance between a gun range and a residential property. And I think we should consider making that further.
I disagree with Alderman Gilson. The standards that are set for building a gun range in the state of Illinois are very stringent. You can't put up drywall and a hay bale and say, here, go ahead and take target practice. In reality, you could put this thing 5 feet from the building. You can put a residential building 5 feet from the building, and it's not going to penetrate the wall. I don't recommend that. 50 feet, 100 feet, a bullet travels 2,000 feet per second. Doesn't really matter if the house is, if there's going to be a structural error at 2,000 feet per second, I don't care if your house is 1,000 feet from the building, you got half a second to move out of the way. These things are built, they cost millions of dollars to build a shooting range. It's not some stick building that you get to put up. 50 feet is more than you will ever need as far as a buffer around a shooting range. And if there's a failure where the bullet penetrates, I don't care if it's 1 foot or 1,000 feet, that there's a problem with that gun range and it should be immediately shut down. So, based on the building standards that are required for a shooting range in Illinois, I have no issue with 50 feet away.
Anyone else?
I also don't have an issue with that setback. I worked on 2 facilities that have firearms ranges inside them, and that's not, they didn't come up. One that I wanted to mention is number 9 on the memo. It's about only allowing the location of the range at an end unit. As was mentioned, the design standards are in place. I'm not certain that this is really a criteria or limitation that I'd like to see. I would like to see that removed. That it can be placed interior to a building as compared to just being an end unit, due to the fact that it limits the placement
felt better, more comfortable with accessing that unit if there was ever a problem, say a fire or something, getting to that unit easier by being an in-unit. So we gave an option to the Plan Commission that we can have it as an in-unit with the arsenal range on the side of the wall that's not joined, or they can just limit these uses to stand alone in the business district. And they chose to have it in the district because they felt more comfortable from the information provided by the fire district having it as an in-unit and not along the parking wall.
Do they provide any statistics on that or supporting information on their request for that as compared to just personal preference?
There was no statistic. There was actually a specific incident that was related to us, particularly about a unit that had flashover when there was a fire, and it's hard getting to people in the facility because of the drawn walls.
No information provided as to if fire suppression or anything, any of the issues were in place and it was not a mechanical defect?
No specifics.
I personally would support leaving it on the end units, especially if the fire district recommended it. And then I do have a question also about the 50 feet. How far are the homes from the driving range that we have on Route 47? Does anybody know the golf driving range?
It's between 220 and 250 yards. I think there's a couple areas that are 275 plus. The closest ones are about 220 yards. So like 700 feet.
Okay, because we did have a lot of problems with the residents living there and having golf balls hit their homes and break their windows and whatever happened. And I believe a bullet would go a lot faster than a golf ball, but I don't really know. You know,
You've never seen me in a golf ball.
I don't know, Christy, can you maybe touch on that for me?
Sure. The facility you're referring to, the golf range, is an outdoor facility, or this would be an indoor facility.
Right.
There are protections that are in place. They're called buffering, different levels of buffering that they have to have in these facilities. No penetration is supposed to happen in these facilities. There's layers. You have the bagging on the walls, you have the bagging behind the actual targets, projectiles. The speed is actually decreased each time it passes through a layer of suppression or bagging. So you're rarely going to have any incident in these facilities where a projectile is going to exit it. And if it does, it's impacted to where the speed is lessened. And that's what we've gotten from our research and some plans that I prepared with putting there to show you how a typical range is set up. Thank you.
I guess the other concern we're not addressing is noise. The closer you are to a facility, the more you're going to hear the noise. And I realize 50 or 100 or 200, I don't know how much difference that'll make, but like I said, I urge you to consider making that setback for the 50 feet.
These facilities actually have their own noise requirement, so it's actually outside of our ordinance, and it's actually greater than our ordinance, that they have to maintain the noise to a certain level, not just to outside users, but inside, because the instructors need to be able to hear the people at the range, and the range need to be able to hear the instructors. So they are very particular about noise levels in the interior of the unit.
Yes, sir.
Just clarification for me. Why were these two issues put together into one ordinance? I mean, it seems to me there's two separate issues here. I have no problem with the indoor shooting range part of it. It's the manufacture and sale of the firearms and ammunition that I have a little bit of an issue with. Is there a reason why these weren't separated?
Actually, the initial request was for, and this is initiated by a resident, a business owner who's looking to do the manufacturing of the ammunition and gun parts. That was the initial request. We felt it would be better to look at this holistically, because if we do permit that in one district, they would get what's called an FFL level 7 license, federal address all of those, instead of just saying, okay, you're allowed to manufacture, but we haven't addressed that you can sell, or that this can happen in a manufacturing or business district. So it's a holistic approach.
Just so I have this straight, when we talk of firearms, we're talking assault weapons are included. And that's where I have my issue. In light of all the recent tragedies that this country's faced with assault weapons being used, I just feel like I'm part of the problem here by permitting them to be assembled and sold out of my city. And therefore, for that very reason, I don't think I'm going to support this measure.
Well, I think that, first of all, you can buy an assault weapon in Yorkville today if you go down to the local Dick's in Orville. I mean, they sell them, it's not like you can't buy one. If people are going to buy weapons, they're going to buy weapons. The fact of the matter is manufacturing, I think the definition of manufacturing a firearm needs to be clarified. Nobody's going to be in the back room smelting iron and putting together a weapon. We're talking about putting different components in different guns and customizing them and doing things of that nature. We already sell guns. We already sell ammunition. When you have a range, it's customary that they sell guns and they sell ammunition. You go to the range, you try it out, you buy it. Great. Obviously, I'm a big supporter of the Second Amendment. I don't believe there's any issues with manufacturing weapons, selling ammunition, or having a gun range in Yorkville, and I frankly won't. So I won't be voting for the ordinance. I just wanted to clarify what manufacturing really means in this context.
And then the definition is about transport, shipping, assembling.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Lund,
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Pelosi,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Liszewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Gilson,
Nay.
Pat.
Nay.
Motion passes.
Next is no zoning board of appeals report and city council report, and we have November referendum questions. I guess we'll take them one at a time. I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, a referendum of whether the city should issue general obligation bonds for the purpose of constructing a recreation facility and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. Second. Comments or questions on this one? I don't know if this came out of ad hoc or how last week. George?
I have both questions and comments. The first comment I have to make is, in our memorandum, it states, this item was also discussed at Park Board meeting on Thursday, July 12th. At that meeting, the Park Board discussed the merits of a binding and non-binding referendum questions for construction of a recreation facility with or without the YMCA. The current rec center owner, Ron Walker, was present at the Park Board meeting and stated that he intended to keep any referendum question that did not pertain to the rec center off the ballot, the inference being that he would litigate to do so. That being said, so from my understanding, because I wasn't present at that meeting, Ron Walker intends to litigate against the city to prevent the community from voting on this important issue, and we're considering doing more business, Mr. Walker? I mean, I just so I'm understanding what happened at Parker meeting, there was an inference of litigation to let the people vote on the rec center? I guess I'm asking the question.
Yes, and we have every right to discuss the threat of litigation.
The second question I have is the purchase of Club 47. It says, further down in this memorandum, it says, the purchase of Club 47 will receive precedent. What does that mean?
Consideration. It will receive consideration, which I think is being done by virtue of the fact that we're having public hearings, that we're investigating it, that we're coming up with some suggested terms, that we're working with it, so that we are complying with each and every phrase of that lease agreement.
So it's consideration is the way we look at it.
I would certainly say that we are giving it precedent and consideration to the time and that we are putting into investigation.
Great.
I asked this earlier and still haven't had an answer, and I think before we vote on any questions, it's sort of important. What are the encumbrances to the current rec center building?
I don't understand.
What mortgages or loans are out on that building?
Whatever mortgages and loans that are on that building, if the city were ever to acquire it, those would have to be removed.
So we don't know what that is, or we do know?
Any contract for real estate requires that the seller give you a complete title insurance policy showing our lien against it, so that you can assure and buy title insurance at all liens, if any, are removed.
Page, I don't think there is a page, but it'd be the second page of the referendum. It says analysis related to option 1. It states something in here that's confused me a little bit. It says, staff recommends that the question not refer to the YMCA singularly and explicitly within the language because an agreement with the YMCA has not been struck and a partnership with the school district may be possible. Previously, we were told that the partnership with the school district is impossible because of time constraints, because we wouldn't be able to work with the school to get our rec programming in there and work out the logistics between the school allowing us to do that and being able to run a rec program. But yet this memo states something different. Has something changed there?
Yeah, I mean, we also didn't think for a time that the YMCA partnership was possible. So, you know, when the ad hoc facility committee listens to the different options and then says, you know, we're okay with this maybe taking a year, maybe 2 years to go to referendum to construct a new facility, all options are back on the table. So that's why.
And that's good. I hope that we do look to the schools to partner up with that and use their facility. But I just want to make sure that the information we're getting isn't conflicting. That today I see something that I haven't heard before. So, and that's discerning to me because how long have we been talking about this? Last but not least, I'm going to put my input in terms of these referendum questions. And I don't know, Mayor, how you want to address these. Do you want to go over each one individually and have us all do input? Do you want us to give us input on the whole shebang, or how do you want us to handle that?
You got different options other than S2. It's like 1, 3, 1, 2.
I prefer doing the whole shebang because I see problems with both of these referendum questions. First of all, if we put a $4 million referendum out to voters, even if they approved it, we're in no position to issue $4 million in bonds, especially for a rec center. If we want to ask the voters for money, ask them for $4 million for roads, not for a rec center. I mean, if you want to vote down the rec center and walk away from it, fine, but there's no way we can issue $4 million in bonds for a rec center. I don't think we're in any position. I think it's silly to even ask.
We've been saying that for a long time. I mean,
First of all, I would like to see it if we do anything, be a binding question. And then the option 2 indicates that we do not recommend that the purchase price and interest rate be included in the question because it's going to confuse the people. I don't think the people are stupid. I think they really, really need to have all this information in front of them before they vote on it. I mean, we can continue to say it's going to cost $1.98, or we can say it's going to cost $8 million, but I would be in favor of having a referendum question and leaving it up to our residents to vote on it. And if they vote it down, they vote it down, but I would rather have a binding question.
You're talking about for the rec center, not for issuing $4 million in bonds, correct?
Right.
Well, let's get that out of the way. Is anyone in favor of asking residents to issue $4 million in bonds? Can we take that up?
well, sorry.
Thank you.
I'm just going to say that, just to clarify this, that by putting it on the ballot in November doesn't necessarily mean my vote saying I'm for this issue. I'm saying let the people decide, which is pretty much what those are saying. So if we're going to concentrate on the first one, that is an option that the ad hoc committee put forward. New construction and preferably with the YMCA sharing the cost. So in my mind, yes, that should go on the ballot.
Mr. Mayor, the more I thought about it, because I said the exact same thing 2 weeks ago in Powell, I said, put them on the ballot, let the residents decide. What I'm concerned about is by having both of those options on the ballot, people are going to think, which one do I want, A or B? Personally, I don't want A or B. So I don't want to give the impression that these are your two choices, please pick one. I think that skews the perception that we're putting out there with these choices. Let's see, do I want to issue $4 million worth of bonds, or do I want to purchase the rec center? I don't want that going through anybody's mind when they walk into that booth. So since the cow, I reconsider. I don't think we should be asking for a bond, because I agree. I don't even think we qualify to issue the bonds. And furthermore, everyone has been telling me how everybody wants this rec center. Great. Put it on the ballot. Let's ask the people if they want the rec center with the terms, so everybody knows what they are. And if you guys pass it, we get the rec center. And if you don't, we don't. And obviously, I've said before, I'm not for purchasing the rec center. But if you guys, 51% of you tell me you want to buy the rec center, I will keep my mouth shut. I'll sit here and we will buy the rec center.
There's one thing I wanted to mention is we had, as an ad hoc committee, determined that it was not feasible to go to referendum and build a new facility. That was one of our findings that we had presented a ways back. At our last ad hoc, it did come back and it was rediscussed about a purchase, and this was after a referendum. This was after the discussion of the joint venture partnership with the YMCA. Once the joint venture partnership for the management proposal was off the table, per the direction of the ad hoc committee, the discussion turned towards a joint venture, new construction, and that's where this came forward. It was out of that committee. The committee felt strongly about moving forward with a referendum on new facility, whether it be joint venture with YMCA or Singularity ourselves. And that's why it's here. Whether or not supported by the council, that's where the committee was. We do have the issue of, yes, it does appear that we are giving options of new or existing, but either which way, a facility. And I think we need to clarify if we want to determine, are we giving them choices or are we looking for truly input here? Because that was the intent of putting out the referendum, is seeking input. Do we want as residents, as taxpayers, to spend $4 million on a new facility? And the other question is, do we want to spend the millions to purchase an existing facility? Both of them are intended to take it out to the residents, but as Charlotte pointed out, it's a clarification issue. It does appear that it's giving an option on the two choices, as compared to seeking input from the residents.
Well, I kind of agree with Alderman Kleesma. I was looking at it, and to me, I think it's going to be confusing if you put two similar things on the referendum. The average person here is not going to vote, or they're not really going to move through it. So are we really going to get the results we want? So I kind of agree that the first one, you're right, we're not in the position to go ahead, and why give that illusion we may be able to go ahead with a new facility. I like the second one. I agree, let's let the people talk. You know, who wants it? Let's see how the vote comes in. So I agree with him, and I think we should just put one on.
One problem with the second one too is that we need resolution on this issue well before November. We're talking about a vote by the end of September. We wait till November, we don't give our staff enough time to make alternate plans for programming. We don't give the current business owners enough time for transition back into a business. I mean, if we wait till November, it's too late, in my opinion. You haven't spoken yet, Martin.
Again, I agree. Let's put one item on there with terms. Again, I would prefer to be binding and let people free divided on both sides, let people speak, and whatever it is, it is. But you're right. We're quick enough so people can respond to whoever that vote will be.
I was going to just say that I agree that it would be very confusing. I think it would look like a choice. However, we're talking about numbers in the public hearing, and there were a lot of numbers thrown out there, and I agree with Mr. Johnson that the numbers need to be accurate, and people really need to know. And there was one a gentleman that talked about, we're paying $700,000 a year for this facility. We're not paying $700,000 a year for this facility. We're getting in $600 and something thousand in revenue, and the city is paying per year $40,000.
Most recent debt is
22,000. So it's bringing in that money, and we're expending 22,000 to cover the difference. So that needed to be corrected, and I agree also that it is basically $4 million that we need to buy the rec center, not 2.5, and it's $4 million that we would need in bonds to go into a partnership with the. Why? I am not in favor of putting a referendum on the ballot to ask for $4 million at all. I think that is. It's going to cost more in interest. I've talked about earlier, or right after our meeting, and he said it would be about $1.9 million in interest if we got a $4 million bond. And so that brings the price up to almost $6 million. And I think that's ridiculous when we can have a building that we know what we bring in on. We know how much money it brings in. We know how we can run it. We wouldn't even know what the terms are that we're going to have with the YMCA, and I'm not comfortable with that at all.
Let's be honest here. The reality is, we're not in a position to issue $4 million of bonds, nor are we in a position to spend $4 million plus for a rec center to purchase. Whether it be bonds or expenditures, it's still an expense that we can't afford. And so let's be honest with everybody here, that's the facts. Now, the other question that comes to my mind is, and I believe this, is when you're talking about the rec center and you're talking about these two referendum questions, I'm with the majority of the council here. You know what? Put this on the referendum. Put it on as a referendum. Put one question on it. I'm okay with one question. Make sure that it states the terms and that the property taxes and everything else that goes along with those terms, and let the people speak. If they want it, so be it. But I don't see why you wouldn't want your community, your constituents, your people to weigh in on such an important decision, even if we did have the money, which we don't. So, I really talked about option 2, but option 2 doesn't have the term. So let's clarify what option 2 means before we go any further than option 2. But that's where I'm at on this. I don't think we're in a position either way when we can't afford, I've said this a million times, I'll say it again, when we can't afford our streets, we're adding money to the bills, and we're increasing our tax levies, and we're doing all these other things to keep taking money out of their pocket. We can't afford this. We can't afford it in bonds, nor can we afford it in purchase. So that's my input.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something on the bond issuances. If you do approve a bond referendum, okay, to sell $4 million worth of bonds, it is physically possible and allowable to sell those bonds. Somebody will buy them. It's a general obligation of the city. The issue that we have talked about is that you would have to raise property taxes, obviously, to pay for it. That's part of the referendum question. So, don't be under a misconception that if the referendum gets put on the ballot and then it's approved, that we would have trouble selling bonds. We wouldn't. It would just be at a 5% interest rate, and then you'd have to raise property taxes. So, it is possible.
Well, I just wanted to address the issue of the transition time for the November ballot. I really don't even think the $4 million bond is a legitimate question.
No.
That's not going to pass. Let's just move on. How many people here want to raise their taxes? I mean, that's just not going to pass. So, I mean, let's focus on the one that has a legitimate chance to get on the ballot for the people to talk about. And that's the one, should we purchase the rec center without issuing any additional bonds and with the terms and conditions to make that purchase. So, as far as the transition period is concerned, we will know if this passes to November 6th, I don't know, whatever the election is this year, the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November. And that allows us almost a full 7 months between the time that we know whether we're keeping the rec center or whether we're getting rid of it. If we know we're keeping it, I'm sure the Walkers will work with us on the transition. That's not even an issue. If the residents determine that we're not keeping it, we have a 7-month window. We know that. Would I like a 12-month window? Would I like more time? Yes. But I think the question is important enough that it needs to go to the residents, even though it is not till November. And then we make our decision accordingly. Well, they make our decision for us, in essence, accordingly. First week of November, and then we just move on.
Problem is, we don't have terms yet.
Well, we can word it terms not to exceed, and that would be the cap.
We have not finalized terms, and I think that given the fact that this council has absolutely not decided terms, that if there were terms in place, we would not be very happy with us as staff. So there are no terms, number one. Number two, might I suggest that you have a cap in the language that is written, that it must be paid for by the revenue fees that it generates, which means the citizenry would take the chance. Now, the reason is, and the reason that I'm suggesting this is not because the citizenry should know everything, but there are a lot of terms and conditions about that. For example, there are 3 small stores there that generate approximately $36,000 a year in revenue that is owner would go to the black as opposed to the red. And there are other revenue sources such as that, also their contribution possibly to taxes and the fact that it's tax exempt. I absolutely agree with you. If this goes on the ballot, just as if home rule or anything else, that we need to get out there, publicize, and get all this information, get potential options of terms and spreadsheets and information out to the public, so if they vote yes on this, they would know what it could possibly cost. You have the appraisal value, the income value, the current revenue stream, potential revenue stream. We do not have terms for us to put in an amount and an interest rate, because that would not reflect what you would ever be presented with as far as we're concerned.
My only concern is if we make the wording of the referendum that it's going to function in its own revenue stream, et cetera. Okay, when it doesn't, then what?
That would be the
amount.
No, the amount not to exceed is if the operator get to be paid out of operational revenue. I mean, I'm in total agreement with what you're saying. Maybe that's the wrong information, but transparency is not to put in an amount and an interest rate. It would not be, in reality, the transaction, and that's my concern.
I would have to disagree. I mean, it's already been in the press that it may be 6% interest rate, and I did get quite a few people contacting me saying, 6%? Why would the city pay 6% when banks are offering 3%? So that I think the people need to know the terms. They need to know what it is going to cost the city, and the $36,000 that are coming in from the attached businesses, I don't think are that important to the people, because I think that their mindset is focusing on the millions of dollars that would, I mean, if we're going to focus on the $36,000, then why don't we also include repairing the equipment that's falling apart, the cost of the ceiling that has been leaking, problems with the pool, HVAC, no, we already took care of that. But I mean, there are things that, you know, people need to know the details, and I think by including the purchase price or not to exceed, and the interest rate is very, very important, and it would be transparent to our residents.
I agree with what you're saying, it's just not the full picture. Will there be repairs? Will we adjust these things? Will we have long-term? Yes, I agree with you, but just putting a price and an interest rate, I don't think is revealing deficiencies in the building, appraised value of the building, all of the 10%.
I'm just going to say, I'm willing to compromise and go with one issue over the other. My concern, though, is if, say, we go with the rec center issue, you can have people saying, hey, for that kind of money, you could have got a state-of-the-art brand new facility, and we didn't have a choice or an option to vote on that. So, I mean, I say once again, I don't have a problem putting them both on the ballot. I don't think it's confusing. I think people can figure it out. If they don't want a rec center, they don't want a new facility, they're going to vote no on both issues. Then we're going to sit here and say, what are we going to do for rec program, but that's another issue. I'll go either way with this, but just keep in mind, if you take the rec center, you're basically saying, forget about a brand new facility, because it's just not going to happen.
I'm okay with putting both on the ballot too, if we want to do that, as long as all the terms and everything's transparent. But as the wording is stated here, the wording alone, in my opinion, gives the false impression that it will pay for itself. And not only that, I do think, let's work with a cap. You know what? Let's put $4.5 million at whatever percent interest we think it's going to be, and put a cap on there. But they need to know, if we don't have terms to work with, maybe someone needs to work with us on terms to put on that referendum question. But if we don't, let's cap it. We're looking at $4.5 million. The percentage that we think it's going to be, and let's cap it off and make sure it's high, because I think they do need to know the sale price. I think they do need to know the interest, because the interest is pretty important here. And I think they need to say it. So.
When we're talking the interest, we're talking the principal and we're talking our interest on this one, that puts us over $4 million. If we put something there that we shoot high, and we don't, my thought is we don't have to put interest. If we put what our not to exceed is on that, say $4.5 million as you mentioned, that's a solid number, that's our do not exceed. Interest could be higher, it could be lower, our principal payment could be higher or lower. It gives us room on our terms or negotiations. That's legitimate, but it gives us a cap. Now, if we, as we've been saying, if we put the second one on here for a new facility referendum at $4 million, I can only imagine what they're going to do. I mean, $4 million or $4.5 million, you can pretty much guess which way they were going to go. New facility for $4 million or existing facility for $4.5 million. Do we want to do? If we put the terms in there, you only say that it's going to be a purchase price of 2.6%, whatever it's going to be. That's not a total number. We need to give them a cap number of what we do not want to exceed on that. That gives us our leverage to do our negotiations if we do it. But the issue becomes $4.5 million or $4 million. We're looking at that. So I could see that kind of skewing and pushing you in a different direction. I'm not trying to be biased to one either way. I want to get the input from the residents, plain and simple. And I just think we need to be careful and cautious on how we do that, so we do get a true representation of the opinions of the residents.
But at $4 million,
it's going to be $6 million total on it, and that's it. When the referendum goes out, it only states what your bond obligation is. It does not include your interest. So we have to be very clear as to what the true numbers are.
How about as far as option 2 for the non-binding question is in the memo, it says, "So the United City of Yorkville purchase a rec center to operate a public recreation facility for an installment purchase contract payable with revenues generated from its operation?" Question mark. What if we just simply add generated from its operation and the general fund? So do people realize that it can come from our general fund and it can come from the revenue? And if they want us to purchase it, at least they know we have to dip it to the general fund.
Yeah, we're not even discussing like if we really points of wanting it or not wanting it, just to get to a referendum, but it comes down to basically, we give residents recreational activities, yes, but can we afford it? So I mean, that's the simple question. How do we word this? That's how we need it to work. Do you want to give people, seniors and kids and whoever uses a place to work out, not become obese like that, and that's happening in our country, but can we afford to provide that? That's the simple question. All the other points mean nothing. Everybody wanted it if we could afford it. I'm sure it passed 90 to 10 if we could afford it. We can't go the other way, but word it so it's clear what they're voting on, what the costs are, who's going to pay for it.
Back to Carlos' original suggestion, unfortunately, I think if you you add general fund to the end of that, a lot of people, they don't know what the general fund is. They don't, you and I get that, but people out there that don't come here every day, they don't even know what general fund is. So I don't think that's going to help you at all. But in general, I think Chris is actually right when thinking about it. Let's address this one at a time. Let's go after, let's put this rec center that we have right now that we're considering on the referendum, put the considered sale price, put the interest, put a do not exceed on there, and let them vote on that one. And then after that, then we go back and maybe we consider a joint partnership. But you know what? I think you're right. I think we need to address it one at a time. So let's do the first one. But I want to make sure that we definitely have the sale price, a interest percentage, and a do not exceed as part of that referendum question.
Also binding.
Yep, also binding. I agree.
With that idea?
All right, so we're on option 2. We just got to agree on wording. Is that what we're saying here?
We don't want the wording in option 2.
No, we just have to agree on one option 2.
Right.
So that would work.
You want to vote A up or down? May as well. The motion on the table is for A right now. Okay, and we're going to get rid of that. We're not issuing $1 million bonds, correct? Right.
Yeah, vote up.
Well,
All the question on that, agree.
All the question.
roll call on that. On the first one. The first one, issuing $4 million for the purpose of constructing the rec center.
So if we're voting in affirmative, then if we vote aye, we're saying we should put it on the referendum?
Yeah.
Okay.
No means off.
Okay.
Roll call. No, nay.
Spears?
No need.
Nay.
Colosimo?
Nay.
Funkhauser?
Nay.
Bilshuski?
Nay.
Teely?
Nay.
Gilson?
Nay.
Pat?
I'm going to break this. Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Lenz?
Okay. So we'll go to, entertain a motion to approve the resolution providing for the submission to the electors of the United City of Yorkville, County, Illinois, a non-binding referendum of whether the city should buy the rec center and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. Yeah, and the ordinance, we have discussing that. Yeah, we can amend it. Do we have a second? We need a second on that one. Questions or comments on that?
We're voting on a non-binding. If we vote this down, can we turn around and vote for a binding?
We can just motion to amend it.
We can just amend it.
Kathy, can you opine, you cannot make this particular question a binding referendum? Yes or no?
You cannot make this particular question a binding referendum. You could agree as a council to abide by majority vote.
But you can't make it binding. It's not one of the authorized binding referendum questions under the ordinance.
Because we're not issuing, because we're not issuing bonds.
Correct. It's not a referendum. There's no authorization to go to binding.
But that doesn't mean the city council can't agree to abide by this. I didn't write that.
Yeah, all binding means is that you don't have the power to do something and you're asking residents for the power to do something. Either increase taxes or to issue general obligation bonds. So you can't, there's no provision that will allow you to basically bind things.
There's a lot of provisions that allow you to abide by.
I would move to amend the motion for the question to read, should the United City of Yorkville purchase the rec center to operate as a public recreation facility through an installment purchase contract at a purchase price not to exceed $2.5 million and an interest rate not to exceed 6%. Question mark. That's
I'll
my
second
motion to
it.
amend.
I'll second that.
So you're going to discuss the motion to amend. We have a motion and a second. Comments or questions on the motion to amend?
Comments, question on the amount you put in there.
Yes.
Is that 6% have to be the only number?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Then we negotiate.
Negotiate lower.
Absolutely.
As the time goes on, interest rates.
Those are our two caps. We can't go above 2.5 and we can't go above 6. Below that, we can negotiate and then we can report accordingly.
Any comments, questions on the motion to amend?
I do have a question. The not to exceed 6% I'm just concerned about because that could give the impression that it may be lower than 6%. And frankly, I'd like to see the terms. If we're going to put something on the referendum, I'd like them to see the terms. So if the workers want us to go forward with this, I think we need the terms to put on the referendum so people can see what we're really going to be paying.
The problem with that is, if I recall correctly, George, is that to get this on the referendum, which we all want, I think we have to decide tonight. If we don't pass it by tonight's city council meeting, we lose the cutoff to submit it to the county clerk for submission to a referendum.
The deadline is mid-August. I believe the date is August 16th. So
And thanks to
you
the
could always
water
schedule a
power
special
system,
council.
we will not have another vote until after August 16th.
You can always schedule a special city council meeting, but there are no other regular city council meetings.
I understand we have a cap in here, 2.5 and 6 million, but it doesn't, I'm sorry, 2.5 and 6%. Yeah, but it doesn't clearly denote what the actual max is, unless somebody is going to be informed. If they don't attend the meetings, if they don't come out and, if they just walk in, they're seeing the number, they're not seeing the full number, which is, we're saying, yeah, $4.5 million. I would rather it be just a cap, fixed number, that gives us a little more room to work.
Yeah, I think just $4.5 million
Take out the two
would
numbers.
be great.
Take out the two numbers individually and put one capped number.
About $4.5 million for a total expenditure. That would be purchase price plus interest. Not to exceed $4.5 million with purchase price and interest.
We can do the calculation on the P&I. If I remember correctly, it's 4.359.
It is. It is.
Right, it's over 20 years, not present day dollars.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think the price tag and the interest rate is probably the way to go.
Well, I have a motion on the floor.
Yes, you do. Any other comments or questions on the motion to amend? Roll call on the motion to amend, making it 2.5 million at 6% not to exceed.
Schwarzenegger,
Aye.
Feldhauser,
Nay.
Leschewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Nay.
Gilson,
Nay.
Hart,
Aye.
Lenz,
Aye.
Spears.
Aye. So, the motion is now back to the amended motion. Any comments or questions on the amended motion? So the language of it will say, should United City of Yorkville purchase the rec center to operate as a public recreation facility through an installment purchase contract payable with revenues generated from its operation?
No, that's not what I said.
What did you say?
I said,
Purchase price.
through an installment purchase contract.
Payable at a purchase price.
I said, should the United City of Yorkville purchase the rec center to operate as a public recreation facility through an installment contract with a maximum purchase price of $2.5 million and a a purchase price of not to exceed $2.5 million and an interest rate not to exceed 6%. I said nothing about generated revenues.
So not paid with revenue generated from the operation, like the option 2 is that.
No, that wording is not in.
Take it out.
May I repeat what you said, so you have to hear it? Should the United City of Yorkville purchase the rec center to operate as a public recreation facility through an installment purchase contract at a purchase price not to exceed $2.5 million with interest not to exceed at 6% per annum?
Okay, so if I understand this right, if we voted it down, if you would have voted no, we could have still proceeded to buy this without a referendum, correct? But we're putting on the ballot, we're not going into a referendum. So if we would just vote it down, we would vote it next month that we would buy the rec center now.
Well, we haven't voted it up yet, Marty. We just voted on my amendment. We still have to vote on the motion.
And Kathy's point earlier is that since it's not a binding referendum, you could act prior to the referendum, the day of the referendum, afterwards. It's purely at your own discretion.
Right. Instead of using annum, may I suggest year? You said at the end, you said per annum. Use year, just to simplify the language for the voters.
Sure.
Any other comments, questions on the original amendment?
We're voting on the amended thing we put on the referendum.
Right.
A non-binding referendum with the language installment sale contract at a purchase price not to exceed $2.5 million with an interest rate not to exceed 6% per year.
Well, we didn't put the number of years on there.
So through a 20-year installment sale contract.
There you go.
Yeah.
Through a
Maximum of 20.
Yes. If the interest rate negotiated lower, we would probably pay it up sooner.
through a
That's my opinion. I think we're getting nutty with it.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, why don't we just put the question out, do you want it or not? And educate the people in their bills or some, in the paper. We're getting nuts about
Just
it.
in those words, do you want it or not?
Do you want it or not? That's what we're going for. Do you want it or not? Period. We're getting nutty about it. Put numbers in. I think we're opening ourselves up to a lot of problems, put numbers in on it. It's a simple yes or no. Do you want it or not?
We can't though. We can't educate them because there's no way we have enough technology, know-how, manpower, people in the world to go out and educate every voter about what they're.
You know what? It's up to the voters to educate themselves too. We need to put the information out there in the newspaper, whatever way. I mean, I think you're saying our voters don't pay attention to what they're voting. You're kind of belittling the people that vote. That's my opinion. I just think we're getting nutty about it. You want it or you don't want it. And then we act upon it that way. You know, I think the people out there know it's going to cost money somehow.
Not to generate some pay for itself, another paper.
But even to say it generates going to pay for itself, we don't know if it's going to do that over 20 years. We don't know that.
Make a profit.
We don't know that. It could do it this year, it can not do it, it can tank next year. I don't know, I think we're getting nutty with all these numbers. I'm
From a
done.
business perspective though, Jackie, if we decide to go 6%, some people from a business perspective alone would look at that and say 6% is double prime. So they may tell you just whether they want it or not, that that's a bad business deal. And that's why you need to include that.
Let's call the question on the original motion as amended. That's what I move.
Is the 20-year in or out of the amendment? Okay, I will read the question. Should the United City of Yorkville purchase the rec center to operate as a public recreation facility through a 20-year installment purchase contract at a purchase price not to exceed $2.5 million with interest not to exceed 6% per year.
Yes. It's getting too big, or is he being? He went through that. He went through that.
Okay, roll call on what she just said.
Spears? Aye. Colosimo?
Aye.
Uphauser?
As much as I want this on the referendum, I don't like the wording, so no. Nay.
Krzyzewski?
Nay.
Teeling?
Nay.
Gilson?
Aye.
Cott?
Aye.
Lent?
Okay, that's that.
I did pull another, the home rule referendum.
Yes, we got that. Yes.
While we're at it too, I don't think we do this, because now we have an open slot. And we had another suggestion for another referendum.
Yes, I would still love to see that.
Would we have to decide on that tonight? I don't know.
We'll talk about that in additional business. Let's talk about the home rule and.
Okay, thank you.
So, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution providing for the submission to the electors a referendum of whether the city should become a home rule municipality and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute. And before you pull it off of the consent agenda, I was going to ask to withdraw this from the agenda. So, I would like to wait on this at least another year. So, you want to make a motion to table indefinitely?
I'll make a motion.
Motion and second?
Second. So moved.
Carol, motion, George, second. Roll call, please.
Spears?
Aye.
Colosimo?
Aye.
Uphauser?
Aye.
Krzyzewski?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Gilson?
Aye.
Cott?
Aye.
Lent?
Aye. Okay, does the clerk have a report? Treasurer report? No. Community and liaison reports? Yes, ma'am.
This is from the Agency on Aging. They're going to be having their 17th annual Senior Lifestyle Expo. It's going to be held from 9 to 2 on Tuesday, August 21st, and Wednesday, August 22nd. The event is once again going to be held at the Drury Lane Theater and Conference Center in Oak Brook Terrace. There's going to be over 100 product and service exhibitors. There will also be a health and wellness aisle, educational seminars, a main stage with entertainment, as well as the 7th annual Senior Idol Competition. And this is to all the seniors. If you want to perform on the stage at the Drury Lane Theater, you're welcome to attend and perform. And they're looking for people that sing, play instruments, do magic, tell jokes. Tickets are $3 at the door and $2 in advance for groups of 10 or more. And the matinee performance of Drury Lane is the 39 Steps, which is a thrilling comedy adapted from 1935 Alfred Hitchcock film. And this year, the agency partnered with the Stop Senior Hunger campaign, a Comfort Keepers initiative, and it's going to be their first food drive that they've ever held. And the Senior Expo has always supported the Holiday Meals on Wheels program, and the food drive would do even more to help. And they really need quite a few volunteers to assist with this. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Spears. Anyone else? Hearing no others, we go to staff reports.
Two quick items, Your Honor. Upcoming events, this Friday is Music and Wine Night in Town Square Park for our Music of the Stars. We have the Yorkville Big Band playing from 5:30 to 9 p.m. And on August 7th, which is a Tuesday, we have National Night Out, which is also at Town Square Park from 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay. And any additional business? Yes, ma'am.
We had discussed about, on referendum, eliminating the clerk and clerk for being elected.
Yes.
Can we set that question out now?
The only way we could, since they're on the agenda, is to have a special city council meeting before the cow. But I understand at the last cow meeting, it was discussed, and there's time on the next election. With that question on there. April, you could do it.
We can flag it to do that.
Yes. Any other additional business? Marty?
Eric, what was the final resolution disposition at Fox Hill? Was sewers that were sidewalks or sinking in or sewers?
They are under working with a company that actually product out there that we're going to try. And right now it's just medicine product. It's a epoxy product that has mercury in it. And we're going to try to sell it. We're going to try to sell it so we don't have to cut for anything cut for replace the whole square. But right now it's too high. Literally, when you make it up, you're going to try to like it. So we have not forgot about it, right? So yes, you can write it as soon as the heat breaks, we'll get it done.
Sure.
I have an announcement to make, and I wanted to save it under additional business. Recently, I have been promoted, or offered a promotion by the company in which I work for. That promotion requires a transfer and moving out of state to Iowa. Therefore, it's in the best interest of myself and my family to accept the promotion and transfer. That being said, I will be resigning my alderman position as of August 1st, and this will be my last meeting with council. I appreciate your understanding and enjoyed the 3+ years of public service on behalf of those that elected me. I have kept my word and maintained the principles on which I ran, and if I could retake any or all votes that I've cast within the time I served, I would not change even one of them. I truly hope that you vote no. The people of Yorkville are great, and I love this community. Although I am deeply concerned with the path in which we are heading. Good luck in the future, and I truly hope that you vote no to buying the rec center and listen to the voice of the people, both in person and via referendum in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, George. The city thanks you for your service. Wish nothing but the best for you and your family. Iowa? Good.
Where in Iowa?
Dubuque.
Any other additional business? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for collective negotiating matters between the bodies of employees and for litigation. Second. Do we have a second? Roll call.
Second.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Spears? Aye. Colosimo?
Aye.
Lefthauser?
Aye.
Olszewski?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Gilson?
Aye.
Hutt?
Aye.
Muntins?
Aye. I'll entertain a motion to table the collective bargaining agreement for sergeants until the next city council meeting. Second. Roll call.
Colosimo?
Aye.
Lefthauser?
Aye.
Olszewski?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Gilson?
Aye.
Hutt?
Aye.
Muntins?
Aye.
Spears? Aye. Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.